Hi, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. As you all know, you're excited to hear about OKRs for effective ESG sustainability implementation. And let's give a minute for more people to join, and then we'll start the webinar. Meanwhile, let me just introduce myself. I'm Nisha. I'm the content manager for Profit.co, and we are looking forward to today's webinar. I hope it will be useful to all of you. Okay, I think we'll start. That's about it. We have enough people here. And let me start off by introducing Profit.co to you as a company. Yeah, we are a Silicon Valley based company, and we are in the business of solving the strategy execution gap for people and businesses, because this is an eternal problem faced by all industries and all businesses. And we have these 5 products: strategy, OKRs, task, performance management, and employee engagement. And it is an OKR-centered product. And we have presence in around various countries across. And we've been recognized for the 3 consecutive years in the Gartner Hype Cycle, which is a testament to the user-friendliness of our product and its acceptance across customers. We've been around for 5 years, and we have spread across 50 plus countries, and with 250 plus employees, and we have 1,000 plus customers who are using our product. And we have been for expanding our product to include the customer feedback and execution aspect from that perspective. So this is one of the highlights that Profit.co has adopted across this 5 years of being in the business. Webinar that we have, and I'd like to introduce our speaker for the evening. I take great pleasure in introducing our distinguished speaker for the webinar today, Stervey Lim. As a AI visionary and advisor at Allure Maven Marketing, Stervey is at the forefront of integrating cutting-edge AI automation to propel businesses towards efficiency and growth. His specific work is in agile leadership and self-leadership that has redefined how organizations cultivate sustainable, creative, and motivated workplaces. He has a wealth of experience as an educator, coach, advisor, and Stervey has been a guiding force in digital transformation, emphasizing the power of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. His strategies have helped a lot of customers achieve their personal as well as the team goals. Today, he brings his unique blend of expertise and practical insights to us, focusing on how OKRs can drive ESG sustainable initiatives in today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Please join me in welcoming a true thought leader, Stervey Lim. Over to you, Stervey.
Thanks, Nisha. I am so embarrassed, but it is so nice of you to highly recommend me. And good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody. It's like 30 people here itself. Cool, nice. And yep, my name's Stervey, and it's a pleasure for me to be working closely with Profit.co to talk about how OKRs can impact either in terms of organization, employees' engagements, or even personal in terms of performance management and talents performance management. So without any further ado, let me quickly go into it because we only have an hour here for quick lunch break here. Today's agenda is quite brief, but very important for us to understand, because how does OKR really integrate with ESG sustainability? It's such a big word today that everybody gets confused, but we need to put it into a certain framework that enable us to drive the strategy, the mission, and the deliverables in organization, in executive, from that perspective. So we're going to talk about how OKR can be implemented in the ESG environment for organizations. And a lot of organizations in Asia are looking forward to how to implement it to implement effectively, right? And how do we really manage that progress itself? And particularly in this part of the world, in Singapore, Malaysia, and ASEAN, we are very, very excited about it, because ESG is going to be the next big thing coming towards in this Asia. And the last part, we're going to talk about very briefly about some of the case studies. I think there are like 3 or 4. We just run through that and see, just to give you a perspective how Profit.co OKRs can and easily be implemented in organization from a sustainability perspective. And the last part is how, what are things you need to know using OKRs to drive that goals itself, right? So basically that's the agenda for this 1 hour. I'm not going to take a lot of time, so let's deep dive into that. So what's the OKR is about? We heard a lot about this in a corporate environment. I mean, some of us work in big organizations, we know what is objective about, and we heard this thing, KPIs and all that stuff. But OKR is really what is the broad objective or goal of a department or organization or company, right? That's driving that. And then at the lower level, what are the results or key results? That's called the success management of objective. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, you all understand that. But assuming this, if going to ESG perspective, if I can come out and say, I'm working in a tech company, my objective is integrate sustainable practice into corporate operation to reduce environmental impact. That's an objective, isn't it? That's where organizations want to go. How do I then measure that in terms of an environmental impact, right? So basically, in the perspective, the key results will be maybe we'll say, or we'll implement renewable energy solutions in 75% of operations, or maybe 25% of reduction of carbon footprints, or perhaps we have things like from the objective of integrating sustainable practice, we talk about maybe achieve 30% of diversity in leadership roles, all right? So that looks very broad, very out there, hang out there, and people does get lost or do get lost, right, in the perspective. So when we put ourselves into OKR, all right, it is a management framework that management from the top level of management, leaders to management to department HODs and all the way to executive, to do a regular check-ins to see that they are getting the right direction, they are pulling the right ropes, getting the right feedback. At the same time, there will be always continuous learning. See, when we talk about OKR, it's not just about output, just deliverables, right, or results, right? It is about how do we enable the whole organization to have a paradigm shift from where they are now to the next level, which is basically to become a superhuman nexus or to be more effective in terms of deliverable and performance, right? So that's what OKRs has that. So in that perspective, we need to define OKRs, the objective, as in like it has to be it can be qualitative, inspirational, and time-bound. So just now I gave you a very broad kind of stuff, was very, very, very inspirational because it's like no idea people what's talking about, right? So we need to pull that for the second level, third level to understand what it is, to be in a very specific metrics and it's measurable. So that at the end of the day, there's this thing called the closed loop. That's where the feedback comes in, and that's where learning comes to continuous. You know, we talk about agile learning, everything. All this will start to come into space in that perspective under OKR. So it is a very, very important aspect once we know how to implement the OKR in that perspective. And organizations does need that because you need to have OKR to know what is continuous learning. So that at the end of the day, when you have a continuous learning, you're putting things like what is the objective of learning how to improve of maybe assuming a reduction of water usage. How do I improve that reduction in usage by 15%? How do I improve that or cut down emission for some organizations, right? So, or recycled materials, how do I cut that down by 20%? So that continuous improvement needs to set in. And that's where OKR comes as a very clear, measurable, achievable goals that organizations throughout the top to the bottom understands how to do it, right? So basically that's what we mean by continuous improvement. The next, basically, we are talking about focus and prioritization. Focus and prioritization has to do with things like how do I use ESG strategies serve as a focus lens in an organization? Because once you want to implement ESG, and some of you may be from Malaysia, you know that in Malaysia, if I want to IPO my organization, I need to be ESG focused. You know, in Singapore itself, all of us are trying to be ESG because the next couple of years, the finance comes in play, right? Because you're not ESG certified and you're not ESG implemented, you can't get loans, right? So that's a very big focus and prioritization for management and for business leaders and for owners, right? I need to get that up very quickly. So how do I do that? So basically, in that perspective, I need to accelerate the transition into maybe renewable energy to go, or perhaps part of the ESG is maybe for example, in a bank, right? It can be ethical banking practices and transparency, which is part and parcel of ESG as one of the 17 goals, right? So how do I achieve that? Maybe like to achieve a 20% year-on-year incremental investment for sustainable development projects by Q2. Then the bank will be like, oh, okay, now I know I need to focus on this to get more sustainable development projects so that for the investments. So basically, that becomes a very driving force in that sense, right? So your OKR gives you that perspective of delivering out there to most of the, either to your external clients who knows what you are doing, and basically your internal clients, which is your employees, which is the most important and crucial assets in the whole organization, because without them, you can't get anything, right? So basically, that's where we are talking about. Or perhaps we're talking about the significance of implementing or integrating with business performance. This is quite interesting because it kind of aligns with your business initiative, with your business performance, whereby you ensure your ESG consideration becomes the intrinsic aspect of the company's growth and measurements of the metrics. So remember, we talked about the key results. One of the key results is how do you put in the metrics, and it must be measurables. So basically, that's where we actually look at. So for example, if I'm in a technology company, which a lot of technology company startups here, I need to have this thing called embedding environmental sustainability into product development. Now, product development is part of business process and performance, isn't it? So how do I get that into key results? So maybe I need to look at designing and launching 3 new product lines that's 100% recyclable materials by maybe Q4, Q5, or wherever you have that. Now, it becomes an integration of it, or maybe to achieve 30% reduction of energy consumption in terms of building a new product, right? So that's where OKR comes in with ESG in terms of strategies, right? So there are definitely ways organization leaders and in how you want to deliver that becomes important, because at the end of the day, by setting this OKR, the organization can directize the environmental targets to core business functions, right? So this is not just, by the way, I'm going to do this. This is a very clear direction of where the business leaders or owners have a vision to drive the next phase, and then how do they want to have it to get everybody towing in the right direction, right? And at the end of the day, it's really about measurable impact, right? Because you can do everything, but how do I want to measure that most important part of it, which is the impact, right? So it is very critical or pivotal in terms of creating this very structured approach in terms of getting the measurable impacts in line, all right? It has to be very specific, it must be quantifiable, and OKRs helps that in the ESG ambition, right? For example, I just give another simple example of assuming you are from a manufacturing organization, right? And one of the objectives is to reduce environmental footprint, all right, for manufacturing progress, which Singapore is and the rest of the world are trying very hard to do that. That's a good objective, but at least in German, how do you get into the KRs, the key results? So we look at things like maybe I need to decrease the greenhouse gas emission by maybe 20% in terms of the production by end of this year, or maybe achieve a 25% reduction of water waste or waste generated by the manufacturing operations by maybe the next quarter, all right? Or maybe implement the water recycling programs, all right, to reduce fresh water usage by 30% by second quarter. So it is a very specific measurable approach, right? And these specific key results are created with very clear, measurable expectation for environment purpose or environment performance, right? So that it enables the organization or company to track, to communicate, and to make sure that progress is always aligned, right? And ladies and gentlemen, remember we talk about feedback, learning along the way in terms of this. And this is where every organization, including the leaders and owners, need to learn, right? They all need to learn how to enable themselves to be in that perspective. All right. And that's where you have the other aspect of it, your EQ, your performance management, all to start coming in that aspect, right? So that the environment become a very safe environment for organizations and employees to feel comfortable to learn and to move forward. And the last part is, how do you want to align back to ESG goals? There are like 17 ESG goals that's been set up by UNESCO itself. And then how do you want to align that becomes critically important, right? For example, you want to enable to have maybe transition to renewable energy resources. That's one of the goals, right? How do you get that portion up to that? So this is basically just the significance of implementing that. And it is very critical, ladies and gentlemen, to understand how OKR is the fundamental framework to push this into the ESG strategies, right? So basically, that's what we like to look at. So I have shared a lot and gave you a lot of a perspective and direction. So what is this ESG really about? It's really referring to this three factors called environmental, social, and governance. And by now, I guess everybody know how this thing works. All right, you need to basically be working one of the goals in one of these areas, right? There are 17 goals, right? So you can choose anything. And the easiest, which I always look for, is the HR perspective, right? There are like 3 goals that manages ethical, diversity, well-being. You know, this is like one of the few easiest to manage in terms of getting yourself in ESG, because you want to talk about renewable energy, and some organizations don't really have that huge impact, but you can do that in terms of recyclable and everything, right? So there are ways, there are definitely ways in every single organization to deliver that in that perspective, right? And it has to be measured, right? Because it's like no point getting this goes up and everybody, oh, I'm going to be ESG, I'm going to have this, but there's no results measurable. You can't see the difference, because at the end of the day, we are here to save Mother Earth. Yeah, listen, but I mean, whether you like it or not, we are in a position to make a decision, all right, to help Mother Earth to be less painful. All right, and you all are, right, including our kids, because if not, our kids will live in a very different environment in the next couple of years. And we have already seen a major impact this year. Look at all the unfortunately, look at all the different storms and water rains, everything that's coming from all the way from China to US to Europe, all the way to Dubai, right? You can imagine Dubai get flooded and now got stones. There's nothing but man created. So it is our time to make that, to have that effort, right? To make sure that it is measurable and it has an ethical impact. I mean, look at this. We are all human beings, isn't it? So it's always nice to treat each other nice, whether we're working outside or inside. And that's where you integrate sustainability into that, whereby organizations like yourself manages risk so that you can meet the expectation and create values and foster relationship out there. And from there, if everybody have an understanding, awareness, and ability to know where they can contribute, you don't need to contribute 100%. You don't need to contribute 50%. Your 1% starting off will take a long impact in 6 months to a year. That 1%, make it 5 along the way, and then 10. You don't need to have 100% on the spot, but it creates a responsible business ecosystem, because you are in the system, you understand what ESG is about. And then from there, everybody put in the effort, you just keep flowing through each other, right? And that's where we are very, very passionate and excited about how ESG does help in that sense. Of course, then for my perspective is how EQ sits into and change to get a paradigm shift of mindset, right, of organizations and people to shift, right? And if you can do that, if you imagine an organization, they are very well aware, they understand what's ESG in terms of awareness, and they understand what is measurable. That means to say is that the mindset that when I put in the OKR system inside, I'm not here to torture you. I'm not here to define you. I'm not here to control you, but I'm here to ensure that we are all flowing through a same direction, using that as a framework. Now, if people have that pure understanding how OKR sits in the ESG sustainability, then the benefits that you see here will be very impactful in organizations. It won't happen in the next 1 month, ladies and gentlemen. I'll guarantee you that. Okay, because it's impossible. We are dealing with humans. All right, humans to change needs to change themselves first to change, right? So we need to understand how the psychology of that, and then that's a lot of education and then coaching and stuff. That's where OKR needs to have a lot of continuous improvement and learning. All right, and that's where we are all here to put in the effort. So in terms of alignment, the benefits of implementing OKR in terms of ESG is the ability to align. All right. We all have our own organization. I mean, every organization has their own vision and mission and purpose. Even I myself, a small company, a boutique company that does EQ, AI, and accessibility, we have our ability, our alignment to that accessibility goals. How do I, in my own training and my own coaching and facilitation, minimize, right, whatever I have with my clients I have, so that we are all on the sustainability level, right? Because I teach sustainability anyway, right? So there are lots of ways we can do and contribute in the little ways that we could, right? So basically that's alignment become critical, and that's what we call ability to have the leaders, right, communicate well with the external parties, the customers, the clients, because once you are ESG focused and you have ESG awareness, then you can work with your clients outside, whether either your supplier, your vendors, and whoever you have, to work on that channel, that the ecosystem, so that ESG is applied. Why I say this is because, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not noticed, the consumers are more well equipped and well knowledge than any one of us in terms of ESG. I'm not kidding you. I kid you not, because I conduct courses on ESG, right? So there's one client of us. They are from the beauty. They are from the beauty. They are one of the biggest French beauty product, and she was just telling me that they need to be very ESG focused. Why? Because the client are asking, is this ESG product? I mean, a client asks her, is this an ESG? The client is saying, is this product recyclable? Is this product sustainable? She didn't say, she just said, is this product ESG? That's how well knowledge consumers are there now. So how do you then want to communicate that to your consumers? That you are ESG focused. And there are measurables, matrices that you can demonstrate to the clients or to consumers that, look, we are moving towards that. I mean, like I say, it can't be changed within a month, right? It is going to be a long-term thing. Yeah, but then guess what? You start with 1%, and then we go to 5, then we go to 10, and go to 15, and whatever we have. But that's point the engagement of and communication, right? So that's the benefit, right? You get more PR out from there. But most importantly, it's all about authenticity of an organization. How many of us work in an organization that's not authentic? As in, like, not transparent? I do. All right, seriously, I do. Big organizations, small organizations, whichever, we do have that little bit of portion that we won't enable transparency to happen. But once you have OKR set in as part of the perspective of getting ESG implemented, I'm not talking about your organization goals, all right, but just ESG implemented, you get to be very transparent in tracking the progress. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? It's a good start to get everybody to know what transparency is, how to be authentic in terms of your communication, how to be authentic in terms of your deliverables, how you're being measured that you don't feel there is this thing called biasness. And that you don't have a lot of this thing called whistleblowers, because everybody is working in that same mindset, safe environment. It takes a lot of EQ, yeah, to manage that itself. But you know what? At the end of the day, it enables organization to push forward, because we are moving into an AI space. We don't need a staff to be working 100% on certain, I use the word, what lame workflow itself, right? Because it's boring. It can be automated and you can take 50% off and let AI does the stuff, and the other 50% get our employees to move to something else to improve and to progress. And that transparency can be all be measured in the ESG perspective. Oh, by the way, you can implement AI into ESG too, yeah. So there are lots of stuff you can do. But today we'll talk about how you want to use OKR to make that decision. All right, because at the end of the ESG, if you want to be ESG focused and then you want to be ESG certified in an organization, you need to have data to support, and there are reports. And I'm not a report guy. So when I look at that, it's a headache for me, but it is a requirement across the globe. You need to have a certain criteria of reports to achieve, and you need to be submitted to measure that you are within that space of that, right? And that's where the ESG comes from. But in the perspective, your OKR will be able to support that data-driven decision making, right? Because all this activities done on the ground will have an impact on your data that you input, right? Because your output will affect your input, right? And once your input comes in, you need to make a decision from a corporate level, from a management level, from a leadership level, or even from a HOD level, right? How do you then manage that? All right. Or for example, if let's say the CEO wants to look at what is the marketing aspect of that ESG's PR sustainability, he can immediately through the OKR system identify that and see whether it makes sense and are they on track, right? So there are ways that the OKRs can be flexible and yet support that data driven in terms of decision making, right? So, and the last part is where we've always been talking about, right? It's always about continuous improvement, because once you make a decision, there will be what? Consequences, isn't it? It's always that, right? Einstein's equation, right? Yeah. So when we have a consequences, and we should not define it whether it's a plus or minus, but we should define it as just a consequences. All right. How do we then use that to improve? Right. So that decision making also starts to come in, and you need more data support. So OKR starts to fork in all the necessary stuff. So these are all the little stuff, critical but yet not loud to organizations. From a management perspective, from a HR perspective, from a performance management perspective, these are all critical aspect or critical success factor. All right, that OKR can help in terms of management. I mean, it's just not just ESG, right? But if you're talking about ESG, it does, but you can use that for anything in that perspective. So why is it important to measure ESG progress? Number one is you want to make sure that the ESG, as we all pull together the element of effort, concerted effort to help to save mankind, so that we relieve Mother Earth from a lot of stress that we created unnecessarily. All right, we need to know what it is in terms of the awareness to our investors, because sometimes investors are looking at what's the S11, right? It's all about what am I getting to get ROI this year? I'm going to get it 20%, which is quite a lot actually, right? But yeah, that's why there. But if I have the ESG, I may not be getting 20%, I may be getting 10%. So that 10% goes to the ESG. Does the investor understands that? If they do, then they kind of know how to even put in more effort. All right, the feedback gives them a little bit more understanding so that they can reinvest a little bit more different stuff into the organizations. Right, so that's the element of communication. That's the element of what data-driven stuff. All right. And then your customers, right? I give you just an example of how customers becomes critically aware what ESG is about. And everybody's quite into that, right? Because it's such a word now with everybody. But how many of the consumers or customers or even your employees understand what ESG sustainability is about? Very few. It's just a keyword, right? It's just like few years back, when we had COVID-19, we had TikTok. Everybody like TikTok. But how you do TikTok? How do you create TikTok? Don't know. I think you just got to create that 10-second, 20-second kind of thing. You can get things going. I think that's how it works, right? But how you measure it? Don't know. So in this perspective, the OKR sets in to measure the ESG progress, right? And then organization can be then very accountable and transparent in your performance. And with the report that you need to submit to the banks to get more loans in the next few years, which is going to happen very soon in Asia, you want to make sure that you are well defined in that space. Finance is the one that drives the whole business, right? And so you want to start to get that going very quickly. And at the end of the day, you want to attract more investors, stakeholders, so that people can go in and be part of this whole ecosystem. Now, that's how you want to measure. And these are all under your key results, right? And then you can measure ESG in terms of how you help companies or departments where they can improve performance and reduce risk. All right, that's where, whether you're using ESG or not, the OKR comes in and we help to redefine or realign or reassess the performance of the individual. All right, if organization says 20% needs to be recyclable in terms of your photocopy, but this department sales has been over 20%, not reduction, but addition 20% because they need to print for the clients, everything. How do you want to help the department? How do you want to help to improve that? Perhaps one or two salespeople still very old fixed mindset. They are not in a growth mindset, so they can't, change that habit that they have. And then the EQ is off because they think that everybody is bullying them because saving paper means what? You are using more digital, more technology, more AI to do stuff. But these old people like me, 57 years old, who doesn't know how to understand AI, may feel threatened. And my performance goes down. Natural for HR to face. It's all happening around the world in all organization employees. How do you manage that? How do you identify the right key people to ensure that the key performers, the top performers, you can give them that route to that different level of leadership, and those who are left behind, how do you identify them so that you actually can push them forward? You mitigate your risk in the perspective, right? So this are little stuff when you need to measure ESG. And the last one is to help identify opportunities, new products and services that meets the changing market, right? So I'll share with you something that I've done from my perspective, right? So as Nisha has introduced you, that I'm into AI, I'm into EQ. In fact, I do a lot of EQs and with OKRs and all that stuff. I just opened an office in Malaysia, and in Malaysia there's an opportunity in terms of what AI does. All right, and people are talking about AI, but how do you mitigate AI, right, to help to reduce the production, the recyclable stuff, and increase performance of an individual? Because everybody will feel that you are being overtaken by robots, right? So there's this thing called that mindset. So where do I come from? My opportunities, I come from the EQ perspective. I inject how to help every employee understand what EQ is, have that whereby they can shift into the next performance level. And that's where OKR starts to step in. And then from there, you move on to your AI, right? So in that perspective, I have integrated AI with EQ. I've integrated ESG with EQ. I've integrated OKR with EQ. I now have integrated ESG with OKR. So there are tons of stuff that every organization can come and develop new product and services, because with this new technology called AI, there are really loads of interesting things you can work in this changing market. And from the EHS perspective, it's not only about just recyclable. How do you find ways to do that from a governance, environmental, and from a social perspective, right? So basically, these are little stuff you can work on that. Cool. Now, I'm actually now at 1:37, so I don't have much time. Let me quickly go into some examples of ESG metrics, right? So from a governance perspective, it's a very broad perspective of ESG, right? The governance portion is about how do I manage the organization, the industry, whereby I have the right compensation for it. I don't have anti-corruption, which Singapore is popular now with the $1 billion kind of thing, right? And the risk management, how do I risk it, whereby organization may face challenges because you are shifting your mode of operation, but yet manages it whereby you don't get a impact. All right. So in that perspective, it is about getting the right, if I use the word objective, so that organizations from the top down understands that, right? I mean, just look at, just look at these three major companies, right? Google, everybody knows Google, right? Google sets a very ambitious OKR. In fact, by the way, OKR is being developed by the Intel guy, right? So Intel moved to Google, and Google is the biggest follower of OKRs, right? And they want to reduce the carbon footprint by using renewable energy and improve its water efficiency. Listen, man, you all know how huge footprint Google takes in terms of the service, especially when now they have this quantum technology, but yet they have this ambitious OKR to reduce their carbon footprint. So they're finding ways to manage that whole perspective. Think about it. You have servers in the desert, servers on tankers, and servers on wherever you can under the mountain. These are all service area that's all these providers are having. How do I reduce their footprint? It's huge, ambitious. But yeah, they are ready to pull out. Oh, for IKEA, anybody knows IKEA? I mean, you should know IKEA, right? So IKEA says, okay, to improve sustainability in terms of the products and operations. And IKEA uses, from the beginning, from Sweden, they are very cautious about the environment itself already. Now, they want to ensure that they reduce the harmful chemicals and increase the recycled content in terms of the products. How cool is that? I mean, think about it. Is it difficult? Is this like totally out of IKEA's perspective to become ESG sustainable? No, they already are into that system. All they need to do is to make it better and more effective, so that at the end of the day, they actually can deliver, right, their portion of ESG, right? Of course, the last guy, Nestle. You guys drink Nestle, right? Nestle, all the Nestle products, beverages and all. So Nestle has that whereby they want to improve health and well-being of consumers. All right. That means those products that Nestle comes out with, it has to be able to improve the well-being of whoever takes it, don't get sick easily, like after injection from COVID-19, right? So that we all become healthy and we are not forgetful and we are really to move forward as a superhuman access. All right. Or we want to reduce the impact of the environment, right? Because Nestle is a huge manufacturing organization. They manufacture product, FMCGs. FMCGs have a lot of wastages. How do they do that? So these are stuff big organizations are now working to it, so they become responsible in terms of business practices. And people know that, oh, Nestle is part of ESG sustainability. Well, they are really doing what they can for the product, and I want to consume it. I want to support ESG because from a human connection basis, a consumer connection basis, my emotions becomes what? Excited, committed, loyal, because you are so ESG. I believe in saving the earth. I want to have part of the puzzle, but I don't have to contribute, so I buy ESG products. So Nestle says, here, I have an ESG product for you. Please support me. You think they buy more Nestle? The competitors, they do, right? So basically, that's how you can't measure that. So there are other successful OKR implementation in terms of ESG focused company. Excuse me, just have a drink first. My apologies on that. My throat's getting dry. So let me very quickly run through this so we have more time for Q&A. Everybody heard about Unilever, right? So one of the ways that we look at ESG from a case study perspective, they have this ESG goal called reduction of greenhouse gas emission by 60% by 2030. That's the key line for all organizations, companies out there anyway, set by UNESCO, right? The OKR is what? If I have 60% by 2030, that's number one, that's a huge goal. We call it a BHAG. All right. But at the same time, the timeline is not too far away. We are now already coming to 2024. Yeah. What have you done for 2023, by the way, as an organization? 2024 is coming. There's almost 6 years. So what did they need to do? They are doing increasing energy efficiency by 20% in all manufacturing facilities. So how do you increase energy efficiency? That's where they will have to roll it down to the operations to run it. But this is one of the ways to save that greenhouse effect. Transition to 100% renewable energy by, 2025. Very, very high call, very high goal, but can be doable because everybody now is on renewable energy. We're talking about the sun, the wind, the sea, whatever you have. All right. So basically that's where we can deliver. All right. And the last part is really how do you then move into the reducing the scope of emission by 30% by 2023, right? So of course, when you have OKR, you need to be also very, I would say, factual. You need to be very realistic because there will always be challenges, right? Every decision you make, there will be what? Consequences. You cannot have a decision made and no consequences. So the consequences is either pain or pleasure. If it's pleasure, then great. That's where you celebrate success. But most of the time in life, we have this thing called challenges, right? And we have that challenges. What do? We face it. We go face on, head on. So that at the end of the day, we learn. And that's where OKR helps us. Continuous learning and feedback is where we learn. Because we learn how to overcome challenges, right? And that's where you need to, number one, for this kind of ambitious OKR, you need to overcome initial resistance to change. Don't you? If imagine, I mean, if you are bosses, I understand, but imagine we are all employees, then this boss says you're going to reduce your emission by 80% by 2024. The first thing is say, crazy, who's going to do that? You have that first emotional upward of barriers of resistance. How do you do that? That's EQ, right? That's where we all come in to help organizations to manage the expectation so that everybody is readjusting their paradigm shift and they can align to the OKR, right? Or investing in new technologies and infrastructure like AI. Now everybody learns AI, but do you know AI can do automation? I can have my AI to read my emails, AI to do my planning. I don't need to do booking in the future. AI will do booking for me for my hotel, my travel, and my places that I want to eat. I'm not kidding. It's already here. Right? So how does the person feel in terms of the technologies, in the infrastructure that you're going to put inside? They say, oh no, this is something I dare not touch. I'm an old man. I cannot understand what you're talking about. Or people who are not into IT. Oh, I'm just only a marketing person. I don't even know what is IT. I don't want to touch because I don't even know. So these are all the fixed mindset. Can be unfixed? Yeah, can. Just take time. All right, and that's where this agile looping and iteration and all this stuff comes in. And that's where we all starts to manage the challenges. But it has the impact. Because at the end of the day, there is this thing called ability to achieve your goals when you set it up. So Unilever has already reduced emission by 25% since 2010. They are almost halved in that sense. So sometimes when we set big head goals and ambitious goals, it doesn't mean that it's not achievable. It's just our mindset was the first to say, no, I'm very comfortable. Don't give me this crap. I'm not ready. But from a management, from a leadership perspective, we all need to kind of, we understand that we need to push forward because this is how we want to save ourselves and how we want to save our Mother Earth, right? So Unilever has done it excellently well, all right? So basically, this is one of the case study they've done. The other guy is Nike. Some of you love Nike, right? So Nike does this ESG goals. They want to increase use of recyclable materials by 70% by 2025. That's 2 years ahead. Hey, not ahead, 2 years more to go, all right? They already created an OKR whereby they have this recyclable polyester fabric, soft, durable, and virgin polyester, which is amazing. Why? Because at home, My wife already bought a recyclable or what call it, not disposable towels, disposable napkins and stuff like that from China because we buy from Taobao, right? And that means to say that the tablecloth that we have is a disposable. After like maybe 1 week of wipes and cleaning everything, we can just throw it out. It's recyclable. All right. And then that's our little effort in our home to kind of like put it up, because I kind of shared what is ESG with my family. So my wife says that it's very important that we need to practice what it says. So she was the one that activated that by doing this, not me. Okay. So thanks to my wife. But it shows that it is doable. All right. For example, increase the use of recycled in footwear by 50% in 2025. So look at it. Nike is more aggressive than Unilever. All right. But it is not about how aggressive it is. It's about setting that behead that you want to achieve. And the challenges is for Nike is getting that reliable source of recycled material, because everything is out there. How do you get a very reliable fabric polyester? Or how do you develop technology that can process the materials? Most importantly, how do you get consumers to buy? Now, I think now consumers are more into it, so I think they're easy to it. But a couple of years back, nobody will talk about ESG. So how do they recycle? Sure, no, recycle is quality good. No, sekali the thing where less than a month, then you go, the thing you start open the mouth like a crocodile and everything. There will be so much complaint because all consumers wasn't aware. But thanks to COVID-19 and the internet and everything, we are now quite aware of what ESG is about. So what Nike has done in terms of their overall impact, when they set the goals before that, they already have increased the use by 50% since 2015. 50%, they are 3/4 of the way there already. They are on track to meet the 2025. All right. And they have the initiative to cut materials and boost consumers' perception, which Nike is doing very well in terms of the branding and marketing for this. So it is not something that it has to be, oh, you need to change, you need to be like Telstar, set up a EV and have this renewable energy and electric. No, each one of us in whichever perspective organization, we do have what it takes to make a change. All right, my last example is Starbucks. Who drinks coffee? I do. Not that I love Starbucks, I actually love my own coffee. But hey, when you're outside, Starbucks is a good place to chill out, right? So to achieve 100% responsible source coffee by 2030. All right, responsible means to say that it has to be ESG. All right, and they work with coffee farmers to improve the crop use by with the reduction waste, and they invest in sustainable farming practices, and they educate consumers why they need to have responsible coffee sourcing. Right, coffee, there are different ways to make coffees. Yeah, so they want it to be all natural, sustainable. All right, so you got to use the recycle wild materials to do it. Right, it's just like the Bali civet cat coffee. Yeah, you all know what it does, right? Okay, so anyway, so the challenges was to ensure the coffee farmers are paid fair wages, because you want to have responsible source coffee. There is a cost to it, huge cost. How do you ensure that farmers are well paid? I mean, they can't be farming and then with the old technology, old methodology, and then when there are a lot of costs involved, hits on them, and you expect to pay the same, right? So you need to manage that. Or how do you manage the climate change, which is the biggest challenge in the recent years? In starting 2024, and 2024 next year is going to be even more challenging. All right, that's a new start of a new year for some of Chinese beliefs. All right, so how do you manage that aspect? All right, or working with the government stakeholders to define how to develop the coffee sourcing standard, especially Indonesia, Brazil, Argentina, Peru, all these third world countries. All right, there will be a lot of challenges, but Starbucks has already achieved 99%. How cool is that? It is about whether you want to put a foot forward, ladies and gentlemen, and whether you want to put it forward and stay forward and not back up because your investor says, I'm not interested, you're not going to get my funding. So it has to do with the leader's mindset, the leader's ability to know where they can drive the organization to the next level, to be ESG, sustainable, and yet be profitable. And that's where you need a system like OKR platform or framework, not system, framework to manage that. If not, then you'll be skewed toward ESG and you forget your prosperity or organization, which is also not fair because you have the stakeholders to take care of, right? So that is where we all need to understand why OKR needs to sit in every aspect of it, right? But more importantly, how the organization, for Starbucks, right, they actually meet all the requirements here. Right. So basically, these are a few stuff that we kind of like wanted to share with you that, hey, you know, out there, people are actually achieving it, right? They're using OKRs and they are strong believer OKRs because that's really how objective with key results really help organization to move forward as a team. You play football, we play rugby, we need to move as a team. Even you're playing tennis, you still need to work as a team, right? So things to know while using OKR to drive stability is you need to set very clear measurable goals. That's definitely something you need to work on. You need to identify the key results, all right? That's where, just to summarize what I've just shared the last 45 minutes, right? Because we're coming to 150, so let me finish that. And communicate objective and key results with employees and key and stakeholders. I mean, this is critical, ladies and gentlemen. All right, how you have town hall meetings, and then how HOD communicate, and then how you use your internal external communication, both to your stakeholders, internal external, becomes critically important because you want to establish yourself as ESG sustainable organization, right? And then how you track your progress and make the adjustment accordingly. And the OKR basically allows you to do that, to tweak, so that it gives you ability, the flexibility to achieve the requirement. And then finally, you celebrate success and learn from failures. There's no such thing as failures, right? As we all know. I mean, I'm not going to go through the philosophy stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it's really about enabling the organization, enabling ourselves, enabling every individual employee to be self-aware and have the self-leadership to take responsibility to move forward, right? And it's not something that we all can enforce, right? It is something each individual must be emotionally attached and able to deliver them. So with that, thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now at 1:55. All right. Any questions that you have in terms of what I've shared, or I shall invite Nisha. Yeah, let me just stop share here for a while. Yeah, then we can have face to face.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And Stervey, that was really wonderful. Especially I like the part where you integrated AI, EQ, OKRs, and ESG, and how that is important to play all of them together, especially in this changing paradigm that we all face with AI taking over almost every aspect of our lives. And with that, thank you very much for this insights. And I have just one question, always this ESG aspect is pretty difficult to implement and measure. But you have given us a lot of ideas how, and you even presented us with a case study. But if you are a startup and you are a small company and this is not a economically viable objective for you, how would you suggest that we go about it?
Good question, Nisha. And I kind of shared with you how I work around it. Because I'm not a 100 staff organization or 50 staff organization. Most of you are coming from. I have a boutique consultancy and advisory. So how I work with ESG, from my perspective of small startup or from a small less than 10% is, I kind of work two levels. One is, instead of me holding a lot of central cost, means to say is that instead of me setting up an office and I have basically a printer, I have a lot of communication, I have a lot of setup in that sense, I kind of work with a lot of strategic partners whereby we all work as an ecosystem or eco platform to deliver the results that our client needs. So that each of us contribute from a certain perspective. And that's how the work from home and the new level of engagement in terms of organization and employees will be moving forward. That's one. Secondly, in my organization itself, we don't use a lot of paper. we kind of like I mean, then we if you need to print a document like certified true copy, you got no choice. You need to print it out to show that it's certified true copy, right? But other than that, this is all communicated through digital space. And that's where the power of where the AIs and all that stuff comes in. Because in that perspective, we can reduce all this recycle perspective by maybe 20-30%.
Okay.
Right. And then and if all of us can do that, I think all of us can kind of like deliver that later portion of what we can contribute in that sense. So these are the very simple, yet not the very big broad kind of stuff in that sense. Then the last part is basically how you treat the staff. Because one of the ESG goal is fair equality treatment or well-being of your staff. Now, that's a very good way to start with. From a HR perspective, from a SME owner's perspective, how do I set a policy or a program that I can have my staff well being taken care of, the culture, the diversity, the ethicality, the DEI becomes part of it in terms of your ESG. So that's the easiest to start. Yeah.
Okay, we have two questions here, Stervey. One is how OKRs and ESG will help in computer network industries.
How OKR and ESG helps in the computer network industries. So if I may, I would assume network is more like your IT, all right? IT perspective. And they are, in terms of technology, there are ways to look at it. Number one is how do you look at recyclable materials reduction? Or how do you look at your IT, your network? How do you look at your energy consumption reduction? All right. How do you get, maybe in the IT, you have certain solutions, you have certain products, you have certain value add services. How do you have that as part and parcel of your maybe patented environment-friendly technology or patented environment-friendly solutions that clients can work with you or your organization can endorse, so that basically it starts from IT? Because IT, like I said, I look at Google, right? I mean, Google has huge servers and everything, but yet they can still look at how to drive down that footprint, right? In that perspective. So this is just top of my head, kind of like, yeah, quick snapshot.
Okay, and we have one quick question again before we tell about our OKR certification. This question is, how can organizations align their ESG goals with OKRs to ensure that they are integrated into the company's overall strategic plan for sustainability?
Okay, sorry, Nisha, can you just run that again so that I'm clear
so
about
they
it?
basically want to know how can organizations align their ESG goals with OKRs to ensure that they are integrated into the company's overall strategic plan for sustainability.
Okay, so basically aligning ESG with OKR is a part of an art and science, right? Because while ESG sustainability is one portion of an organization mission or vision, whereby we need to push forward to the next level, we cannot forget the operation aspect of where the organization has been for the last 20 years or 10 years that they've been doing. All right. So most importantly is you've got to select the right ESG goals first. So because you have this environment, we are social, we are governance, right? So we don't need to do all 17 to be ESG sustainable. right? We can start with one. And as I shared earlier on, we can start with the social aspect of it. So that gives an organization the taste and feel of how that works. And once you have that, for example, we want to have 100% ESG self-awareness employees, right? Through the next 1 or 2 quarters. So that basically you want employees to be aware of ESG and what is their roles and how they can play in the organization to implement ESG or suggest ESG sustainability and stuff like that. That's your objective. Now, how that happens, your OKR, that comes in terms of how many people you want to train per quarter, right? So, if you're a staff of 100 people, you can't train 100 at one time. So maybe every quarter, every month, every week, you'll have 20 goes on that training for the program, so that at the end of the quarter, you are ESG ready or ESG aware. And then you take on to the next step, because once your organization is ESG aware, then people can have a more open mindset to kind of like accept what management or leaders wants to work forward to, right? So you need to lay that foundation, right? So these are how you can kind of like align your OKR to become like ESG driven kind of stuff. I mean, this is the most simplified way I can explain. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Stervey. Can I have the last slide, please?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we come to the end of this session, and I now see that since the questions are very insightful, you all had a great session, and you know the importance of the OKRs, and so in order to help you on your journey of this OKR and ESG and sustainability, Profit.co has these amazing certification programs. And as a special discount, we offer 25% off on these certification programs. These are internationally recognized programs. I invite you all to take a look at it and use this to your advantage. And with this, we come to another insightful webinar. Thank you, Stervey, and thank you, participants. You've all been amazing today, and hope you've learned something new. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you.